let's take a look at another sort of building that we can make that's pretty easy, I think. They're buildings based on cylinders. We'll look at our resource file here and see some of the ones that I've made here. They can be tall, they can be high, they can be shaped like mushrooms. We've got them all over here. I think they're pretty good buildings to kind of have in the background. It's also nice to look down at the top of them because they can be sort of intriguing and gear-like. So I've just isolated a bunch of them here so you could sort of see some of the things I made. And, you know, they're based on a cylinder, like I said, but working with cylinders, you know, there's a couple of approaches to working with them. One is working with a low-shaped cylinder and then building up, and the other is creating the height first and then modifying it from there. So we're going to look at some of these approaches. What we really like to do is get into this top part of the cylinder and kind of mess around with the shapes there. And you can see here you could even put small cylinders inside the larger shapes. So again, fairly easy to make. I'm going to reset here and start another file just to show you how you might make a building like this. We'll start it with a cylinder, and as always you're going to hit F4 and J. J is to get rid of that bounding box, and you'll pick a color to work with. Like I said, we're going to be changing that down the line. And so cylinders come with a default of 18 sides, which might be a little bit on the low side, so I usually bump that up to about 24. And the height segments is pretty critical. We can always add them using inset, but it's really best to decide at the get-go that you want at least 2. You know, when you're making wheels and things, by the way, that's really useful. But for us, let's just look at how we might be messing around with a building. We just sort of fancifully make something up. I'm going to show you some of the issues with working with cylinders. One way to do it is to reduce your height segments down to 1 and convert it to an editable poly, and then build up. I'm going to show you some of the issues with that. And some of the tricks too. If I go to the vertex subobject and click on the center vertex, hold the control key down and click on this icon for polygon, not the word polygon, but the icon for polygon, it will transfer the vertex selection to a polygon selection. Then I can furthermore hit grow, and now I've selected that top. Of course, there's other ways to do that using, Windows crossing selections here, but I like to do that and make a selection set called top, so I can always find that again. And in this method, you then go to bevel and raise up, and maybe bring something out here. I'm not really to scale here, but I'm just making a very small object, and then pull down. Okay, and then hit OK, and then maybe extrude up. Hit OK, and then maybe bevel back. So just take that same number for beveling, and I'll just bring that the other direction. Oops. And like that. There we go. Okay. Now, everything's fine and dandy. Let's just give it a quick render. I'm going over to my render setup icon, and I just want to review our render setup. First thing is one of our first setup tasks that we did is we made sure we're in the default scanline renderer for now. Okay, and under common parameters we're at single, and for now we're at 640 by 480. We're going to be working more with this later, and I want to just have render output set up like this, so I'm not saving any file, we're just hitting render. Okay, so the problem with this method is I've got a problem with my smoothing. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to fix it, and then I'm going to show you how to work with this in an entirely different way. So it's important to know all this stuff. So then when you get no bind, you can correct it. So I'm going to select all those polygons. My Windows crossing set up like this, by the way. So if it was like that, then I couldn't select it. I'd have to go around. So just be aware there's a little gotcha right there. And so now that I've got those polygons selected, I'm on the polygon subobject level, obviously. I can't do this without that. I'm going to go down to Polygon Smoothing Groups in my command panel, and I have to set some smoothing group number for these polygons. Now, I don't want to interfere with any other numbers, so I generally go down here somewhere and give it some high number, and then I render it again, and you'll notice those are smooth. Alright? Now, these are still screwed up. So I could select these guys here, and maybe they're all 31. And since they're not touching, I can make them 31 too. And when I render again, now I've got smooth faces. And I'm only showing you that because that's an issue that you're going to confront. So that's one way to work with cylinders. Now I'm going to show you another way.